ports and services on the web server. Web applications are generally served on ports 80 and 443, but it's not limited to use just these port numbers. Port numbers are configurable, so it's not uncommon to see a web application served on a non-standard port such as 8080. Okay, so basically a URL or an IP address will be provided to you if you start a penetration test. But sometimes, due to your contract, you may need to run a black box testing approach with nothing. You wouldn't even have an IP or a URL to get to test. In both of these scenarios, you would need to identify and then map the target network in some level. So the first thing to do is to identify the target network with whois. So we've already done that. The second thing to do is to map the network. And that's what we're going to do now. And we will use Kali Linux. It's got a great tool in there to help us out. Nmap. So Nmap is short for Network Mapper. It's a powerful open source network scanning tool, perfect for conducting reconnaissance and enumeration. So here we are going to benefit from Nmap. So now open up your terminal in Kali and type Nmap. You can see there are a few options. Nmap can perform many tasks. It can identify live hosts, scan TCP and UDP open ports, detect firewalls, get service version running in remote hosts, and even with the use of scripts, find and exploit vulnerabilities. So why don't we just start with a basic scan? So at this point, let's assume I was given or I have found the target IP or URL. So I'm going to use bbox IP address in the examples. Simply type nmap 192.168.204.130 and hit enter. And here's a basic scan. So Nmap will scan the target IP with its default options. And the result shows the open ports and corresponding service names running on these ports. So now let's touch on some of these other parameters to perform a detailed scan. Now, Nmap has several approaches for scanning open ports. It sends raw network packets to several TCP or UDP ports of the target and checks to see if there's a response. And if there is, depending on the type of response, it will define the port as to whether it's open or not. And remembering that HTTP uses TCP for transmitting packets, Nmap will play with these packets, and then different scan types come up. So a regular TCP connection between two IPs is called a three-way handshake. So first, a sign flag reaches the destination, and then it sends the sign ACK flags back to the source. Then the source sends back the ACK flag to start the data transmission. So this is the basic and fully qualified TCP connection, right? So type nmap 192.168.204.130-SS, and the SS parameter will do the sign scan on the target. So that means that Nmap will not complete the three-way handshake. It's not going to replace the last sign packet with a reset packet. But the result is not going to be different than the first one, because the sign scan is the default option for Nmap. Now, type nmap 192.168.204.130 ST, and this is a TCP scan if the ST parameter is used. So that means Nmap completes the three-way handshake. And that way Nmap can actually connect to the target port. And then the connection is logged by the server. And the result is the same as the previous one, but it provides a more accurate state of the port. Okay, so you can see that Nmap's a really clever tool. It first identifies the live host on the target network and then scans the host for open ports. So now let's type Nmap 192.168.204.130 SN. And with the flag SN, you can force Nmap to check to see if the host is alive or not. And then, of course, the opposite is also possible. Change SN to PN. And then this time, Nmap will not check to see if the host is live or not. It will only perform a port scan. Okay, so now let's be a little bit more specific about these ports. So you can use the P flag to define a port number, port list, or a port range for Nmap to scan. So here I'm going to give it port 80 and 443. And of course, you can provide service names like HTTP or HTTPS. This time it will find ports running these services. So if you want to scan all the ports, just put a dash after the P. It's going to take a lot longer. But if you're not looking for a specific port, you can limit the number of ports by using top ports as a parameter. It will look for Nmap's top 100 ports. Now, if you only want the open ports, just add the open parameter. The closed port is gone. Also, you can add a reason parameter to display the reason a port is in its particular state. So until now, we've got open ports and the names of the services, right? So thankfully, Nmap can show the software versions running on the open ports. And just add the parameter SV to detect versions. And it might take a little while to run this kind of scan. And here are the results with their version banners. So now you can look for these version numbers to see if they have vulnerabilities or not. And then the last thing that we'll do here is determining the operating system running on the target host. So just add the parameter O to the previous command. And this could also take a little more time. Nmap will analyze the information collected from the open ports and versions and guess the probable OS. You can also use Nmap scripts. And also you can compose your own script by using the Nmap scripting engine. So here are some script names that you can use to help you when you're doing penetration tests. I won't show you how to use them, but simply because I'm going to be using some other tools and techniques for the same purpose. Using scripts is certainly not complicated, and I do advise you to use them.